she is, Krista McCarville. Hello.
Hey.
Up in Northern Ontario. How's the summer been in Northern O?
Well, actually, I've had a really long March break. My March break has
Yeah.
been months long, so it kind of led into the summer. But it's been a really nice summer and I've been enjoying it. So today's, just rearing up to go this week. But it's been a really good summer. Yeah.
Yeah, because we just said, I was just talking to you before we started recording. You're a teacher, so it's a crazy experience for all of us. I, with someone with children, apparently became a teacher as well after March break.
Which was probably very difficult.
Well, yeah, I mean,
It's difficult for me, and I'm a teacher and teaching my kids, and it's difficult.
yeah, we got to the point, I don't know how you do it, and everyone was different. We got to the point near the end where we were like, just read an hour a day. That's
Yeah.
what you're
Yeah.
doing.
Call the quits. Yep.
Yeah.
I kind of felt that way too, but I couldn't really call it quits on my whole class.
Oh, yeah, fair, right?
But I would
But
have liked to.
when you're trying to do a full-time job, it's challenging, right? But then throwing that back to curling right away, we'll just get right into it. You have a full-time job and you're trying to do this full-time curling thing too.
Yeah, you know what? It's hard because I get this question all the time, like, why don't you, take some time off of work and curl for a little bit? But to be honest, like, I love my job, like I love curling. I have a passion for teaching and I enjoy going, there's days where I'm dragging my butt and I don't want to be there, but for the most part, like, I love going to work and I love it. Like, I love curling. I don't want to give it up and I enjoy it. And, it's time consuming and it takes lots of energy, but like everything that you work hard for, I think does. And, curling and teaching are the two things that I really, really enjoy in my life. So I want to keep doing it. So I don't want to take time off teaching when I can do it all. Or I try to do it all anyways.
You try, yeah. Do you believe, like, you've been very successful, and we'll get into that, but do you think having to work that full-time job has hindered that success? Or do you think, even on the other side of that, because of what your job is as a teacher, it's maybe made you better?
Yeah, yes and no. I would say, I think some days I'm just like exhausted because I'm running from the gym to the classroom and then to the curling club, and then you come home and you're doing all the stuff for your family and trying to get as much sleep as you can. And so those days I feel like, what am I doing to myself, because this is crazy. But
Yeah.
then other days I feel like this is what I love. I love to be busy. I love to be doing everything that I can, to build for my team, for my classroom, for my family, so I think it goes both ways. Like, I think I'm busy and it maybe helps my curling a little bit because I prioritize different things that I need to do on the ice. And okay, so I have limited time, so I'm going to work on this and, kind of get down to business maybe. But then, yeah, I guess there's times where I'm so busy that I just think about all I want to do is sleep instead of practice, or, so I think it goes both ways, but I've been doing this for so many years now that I'm almost adjusted to it. So I think that's probably what I do best. Yeah.
It's just your normal, right? It just is
Yeah.
what you do. On that lines, and I think we know the answer because you kind of answered this, but John emailed in and asked, his question was, would you ever give up teaching to be a full-time curler?
Well, I kind of did say, I said to my team, and I do get this question often. I said, you know what, if our team wins the Scotties one year, I will probably take some time off teaching. I'm never going to quit teaching forever, but, I can take leave of absence here and there. So if we do win the Scotties, then I think it'll give me more opportunity to travel and maybe, go in some of those bigger bonspiels where, I need some time off, because when you are playing the circuit in curling, you're playing every single weekend or almost every single weekend. And for me to, pop in and out of the classroom, I don't think it'd be fair to those students for me to do that. So, until that time comes, which I hope it comes soon, because I would love that. But, up until that time comes, I'll just kind of continue what I'm doing.
You've been close though. Like, you're there. You're not real far away, right? You obviously, I don't have to tell you that.
I know, it's just we almost had a taste of it. We were in that final in 2016, and like it was like right there, but for some reason it wasn't meant to be, and that's okay.
no, it is that's why sports are awesome, right? Because you never know, and there's always next year, there's always next game, there's always next end.
You got her. Yeah, exactly.
So let's take some questions here from some of the kids. There's some kids. This one is from Scarlett in Barrie from the Stroud Curling Club. She wants to know, what age did you start curling? And what was your motivating factor to start in the sport? Hers is her papa is a curler, and he's going to be one of her coaches.
Oh, that's nice. Well, I started when I was 10 years old, and my dad, I have an older brother who's 3 years older. He started curling the year before I did. So I was, 10 years old, and my dad would just take me out, and I remember putting on a slider, and I remember I could slide probably to the top of the house, and then I kept going a little bit more, like a little bit further, and I remember just sliding to the hog line, and I was so excited I could slide to the hog line. It was the biggest thing, I was super pumped about that. And then the next year I actually entered the Little Rock program with 5 other friends, and so we played that for a year, and then those 5 friends quit and I just kept going. But luckily, I had my dad and my brother there to take me to the curling club to practice whenever I want. And here I am.
Did your dad curl?
Yeah, he curled. He actually lived in Manitoba as a kid, and so he was in like some of the provincial playdowns. But then he moved here in his 20s, here in Thunder Bay in his 20s, and then he just kind of played for fun after that.
Yeah, and your brother's a very accomplished curler as well.
Yeah, he's gone to the Briar. He went to the Briar with Al Hackner that one year, so he still plays for fun, but nothing competitive.
No, we can't all do multiple jobs like you and still be competitive at the sport.
Yeah, right.
All right, I'm going to pull up a video here.
Hi, my name is Kelsey. I'm 14 years old, and I curl out of the Elora Curling Club. I have a question for Krista McCarville. If there are no events to compete in this season, what do you suggest for young teams to do in terms of team communication and maintaining their skills while we can't play?
Curlers they don't like hearing it, so.
I know it's a weird situation that I think everybody's in, but well, what I would say for juniors, I'm not sure if she's close to her other teammates. Luckily, Ashley, Sarah, and I live together in Thunder Bay, so what I would say to those juniors that can get together to practice, your practice is like everything to you this year. So I would say, if you have a coach, your coach should hopefully set plans out for every single practice. Every single practice has to have a purpose. You're not going out there to have fun. You're going out there to learn something. So when you come off the ice in an hour or an hour and a half or whatever it is that you're practicing, I would say you should come off and you should feel like you've learned something or you've done something good for your delivery. But every single practice has to have a purpose. So if you can go out with your teammates, I think that's better because then you can work on things together. And if you are, too far away to practice with them, then I would say, you should each set certain goals that you have and go out and, hold everybody accountable and, text each other or email each other what you're doing. And just to show that, you are really raring to go and excited for the year, even though you might not be able to play together. You have to show that you still have the passion for it, even though it means you're just practicing and you're not playing any games.
Is that what you guys do? You always have a practice with a purpose when you go out there and...
Yeah, absolutely. Rick Lang, I think he instilled that in me. And, I could think years ago about going to practice and being like, oh, I just, I'm tired. I don't want to be there. And Rick always says, you know what, if you're going to feel like that, don't come because, you're wasting your time. So if you're going to practice, go to practice and actually like really accomplish something, a goal of, what you want to achieve during that practice. So that's what I would say to those, or the younger me, I would say, like, don't go to the curling club just to say, okay, I did it. I went and practiced. You have to go there and actually have a purpose to why you're going there.
And I think that might be what differentiates some competitive athletes or curlers, especially at the junior level, from those that make it to the next level. Because as you get older, the amount of people that can play competitively shrinks. It just does because of the talent level and the amount of opportunity there is. So being self-motivated, has to be really important on making that leap. You can't wait for someone else to motivate you to get you where you want to go. You have to want it yourself.
Absolutely. And that's the big thing I think about practice is like the want. So if you really want that, if you want that like dream of winning some sort of competition or bonspiel, whatever it is, like you have to want it. And, you know, sometimes practices are like, you know, really tiring and draining and you just don't want to be there, but you kind of have to put yourself in a position and just think about why you're there and what you're doing. And then I think that would kind of build that, you know, the strength inside to really focus on what you're going to do to achieve at that practice. Because I think everyone's in that same situation this year where they're like, you know, what are we going to do at practice? And am I going to be by myself? And how are we going to do this? And it's a different situation this year, but I think, you know, as long as you have a coach that maybe can help out with that, or even a father or someone that can maybe help out with that, some kind of parent that maybe knows curling, they can, you know, lay out some things to help them, you know, in that 45-minute practice or whatever they're doing.
So you said there, you know, set your goal and whatever. What kind of goals, or has your team even talked about this? I mean, you must have, because this season usually starts already. So
Yeah.
what kind of goals have you guys set?
Well, actually, we were supposed to have a little meeting tonight, but then the Raptors game was on, so it got canceled.
Oh, it's not.
And then
good.
we shouldn't have canceled it for it, but you know.
Yeah.
So we're having our meeting in the next couple days, but we have talked a little bit, and I mean everything is still a little bit up in the air, but we luckily we are going to have ice put in. It should go in the end of just after Thanksgiving weekend. So we will have practice, and like I said, Sarah, Ashley, and I live in Thunder Bay together, and so we will practice every single time we can. And then we're hoping that maybe Kendra can come to Thunder Bay and, you know, maybe have we call them training weekends, where Kendra usually comes to Thunder Bay, and, you know, we spend Friday night to Sunday night just, you know, doing on and off ice things. But yeah, I mean, we do what we can, and we're going to practice really hard. And I think that's something that we're good at, because we do live together, or the three of us live together, that we can get together. And I think we are pretty good at that.
And that is kind of an advantage that in Canada anyways, a lot of the high-end women's teams, they're kind of spread out, right? Like Jennifer Jones is spread out with her team. Rachel Holman, they're a little spread out. So, you know, having that, you know, can knock on the door and say, get in the car, we're going to throw stones. That has to be an advantage.
Oh yeah. And I mean, we all live like, you know, 15, 20 minutes from each other. And, you know, we just set a time, and our curling club's amazing. They're always preparing us really good ice, and, you know, Rick's a huge part of our team, who's always at every single practice. So really we have the three of us curlers, and then we have Rick at every single practice. And then whatever we do in our practice, we always just relay what we're doing with to Kendra, who's in Sudbury, and she has people that she practices with. And our fifth man, Jan Gates, who's kind of taken over for the Prego ladies the last couple of years. She lives in Sudbury too, so she's actually with Kendra, and there's other curlers there that help them out too. So we just kind of relay what we're doing, and then we pass on that message to get them going on what we're practicing.
That's awesome, right? You found a way to make it work.
Yeah.
So let's go to another question here this one's from London, from Haley at the Strathroy Curling Club. From Strathroy in the London Curling Club. Don't want to get your club wrong, Haley. What steps do you take to move past a bad shot game so it doesn't affect your whole game or bonspiel?
Yeah, I'm someone, I don't really show my emotions too much on the ice. I think, you know, when you make a bad shot, I mean, no one's ever trying to make a bad shot. And, you know, I'll think about maybe why I made that bad shot. Was I not focused enough? Was I doubting my ice? Was I doing something? And whatever it is, you have to kind of figure it out in your head before you shoot your next shot, because you don't want it to, you know, affect your next shot. And you do have to drop it, because everyone's going to make bad shots. Everyone's going to miss, you know, a really key shot. And if you want to rebound and make that next shot, you have to forget about it. And if you dwell on it, just like anything, not necessarily just in curling, but if you dwell on a miss, you know, it's going to bring your performance down for the rest of the game. So really you have to just get rid of it, and hopefully your teammates will be there for you. And, not doubt you or, not get down on you, because that's probably the worst thing that you can have. But you can't do that to yourself either. You have to get over it. But I'm not someone who would like show my emotion and slam my broom too often, but I mean, it is inside. The anger, the frustration is inside, but yeah, you just have to kind of forget about it to move on.
I've always said skips are a little bit of a different breed. Like they're a different thing. Like it's like they're like in hockey, it's like the goalie, right? Like the last line, you can't say anything. So like when I played, I was always front end. I was a lead. So if I missed a shot, I could just say, you know what? I have 6 rocks to sweep really hard, and I can just do my role as a front end player. But like, when if you miss your 8th rock, like the 8 rock, there's nothing else to go to, right?
No, there isn't. But you know what you do? Like, I do think so. It's funny because if you're the lead and, you might be struggling in your game, okay, you're like, okay, I'm going to sweep my hardest. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And sometimes you think, well, what's the skip going to do? But at the same time, I'm calling the game. So I need to be smart in calling the game. I need to call line really well. Like I can't let, maybe if I'm having a poor performance game, I can't let that affect the other things that are going to affect my team. Yeah. So you have to kind of push that aside too, because everyone has bad games and everyone struggles. But, if I could make really good line calls or call the game really confidently, then I think that makes up for some of, my bad performance.
Do you ever alter your game call and strategy based on like how you or your team's playing?
Yeah, I mean, there's times like I would say if I go to a Bonspiel and, it's like 3rd or 4th game in and I'm like really not catching on to the draw weight and I have maybe an easier hit and I'm feeling really confident with my hits and I have that to score, a couple instead of drawing or something, then maybe I would. But I mean, most of the time I wouldn't alter my strategy. I would say I'm going to go with my gut and like, even if I am struggling a little bit with draw weight, I always think, well, I'm going to catch on. This has got to be the rock that I'm going to get my draw weight. Like there's got to be some time, but so usually I don't like to, but if I'm like consistently struggling over a few days or games, I would say maybe my gut would be leaning towards like, okay, I'm not making these draws. I'm going to hit here or something like that. I would say. Yeah.
Yeah. Just comes organically through the.
Yeah. Yeah. I would think so. Yeah.
All right. We got another little guy here. So let's.
Hello, my name is William and I'm a member of the Unionville Curling Club. My question is how I can improve my skills off ice and in quarantine during the summer.
Summer's almost over, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But it's still a good question.
Yeah, I mean, for his skills, I mean, it depends, like if he's working on his delivery or sweeping or, strategy, what kind of skill it is. But I mean, there's lots you can do over the summer. I mean, if you're, trying to learn the 5 rock rule, then I would say go to YouTube and, YouTube some of the games that they, like Jen Jones versus Holman, like a really good game where you can focus on strategy. That's what we do sometimes. Or, I mean, in his sense, if there's any junior games on YouTube, like sometimes the junior finals, he might be able to find that and pop that up and just kind of watch. And you know what, also listen to what the commentators are saying, because they're very smart. They know what they're doing and they always have really interesting things that you might not, think about while you're watching the game. So I'd listen to them. And then, I mean, if you're working on sweeping, I would say try to get, a little bit of your aerobic, maybe a little bit of athletic performance in there and, try running a little bit or, doing some things that are going to help build your strength for sweeping. And I mean, when it comes to your delivery and stuff, those type of things are really difficult. But I would say everyone talks about visualization. So, if your out turn is your struggle turn, you're really doing something with your release, then you can kind of visualize a clean release, or you can YouTube, another game where someone's out turn looks so pure and kind of watch what they do. And then you can visualize that. So then hopefully you can get onto the ice to practice. And if you visualize it so much, it's in your head that hopefully it'll come out when you actually have that time to practice.
Yeah, that was a big one for me as a kid. I used to always just think about, like, you'd see someone make a shot and then you'd be like, oh, imagine yourself making that shot or something when you saw it on TV, right?
Yeah, and I think if you do it so many times, I mean, hopefully that would help out, right?
Yeah, for sure. One of the cool things for you, or maybe it's not, you tell me, for a while you were going to the Scotties as Ontario. Now you're going as Northern Ontario fairly regularly. What do you prefer?
Well, deep down inside, I'm Northern Ontario girl, right? And I don't know, like I do like the fact that they split Ontario, Northern Ontario, because it is such a huge province. And I mean, we still have to travel super far to actually go to our provincials. So like last year, it was crazy how we had to get there. But, you know, like when you're all of Ontario, you're playing really great teams. So, you know, you kind of, well, you're going and you're playing, you know, 7 other teams in a round robin, and it's a week-long event. It's like a huge spawn spiel almost thing. Northern Ontario, there's not as many teams, so it's smaller. And, you know, some of the top teams are in Ontario, not Northern Ontario. But you know what, like, yeah, like I love Northern Ontario. That's where I grew up. That's where I live. That's my home. But I mean, so I do like the fact that it is Northern Ontario, and I would be sad if they ever got rid of Northern Ontario and just, you know, continued with Ontario. But I mean, green and gold's my color, and you know, the moose call and all that. Those are the best things about Northern Ontario.
The rope and the apple can or whatever it is.
Yeah, that's Northern Ontario. That's not Ontario.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying.
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
So a couple of times we went to the Scotties, we were Ontario, but still our families had the moose call because we're Northern Ontario, right?
Yeah. I know that, like when I was young, well, not even when I was younger, but people would always say, like, you know, from other provinces, like, why do you guys get to? And I mean, the women's has only been, what, 4 years, 5 years?
Yeah, about that.
But at the end of the day, I mean, you and your team, plus Brad Jacobs' team, must take a lot of pride in that. Like, you're just not participants when you go, right? Like, they didn't just make this extra area so that more teams could get there. Like, you guys are both going to win. Northern Ontario teams are going to win. They're not just, you know, the second-hand Ontario team.
Yeah. And even like our senior teams are always in the hunt, and our mixed teams are always in the hunt. And, you know, so it's not just, you know, men's and women's. It's like a lot of our teams, like our junior teams, our junior girls and boys are always. So, you know, I think we hold our own being Northern Ontario, and I don't think they're just, you know, we're not throwing teams in there. We are competitors. So I think that's a good thing.
What do you think enables you to do that? Because it's not like Thunder Bay's a big center, Sudbury's a decent sized center, but that's basically it in terms of large centers.
Yeah, so, I mean, we don't have like the number of curlers in Northern Ontario that are competitive. Like in women's, it's gone down big time. But I mean, we're fortunate to like the 3 of us live together and to practice where, you know, you live in Southern Ontario and your teammates might be like hours apart.
Yeah.
You know, like Kendra is 10 hours from us driving because Northern Ontario is huge. But, you know, like when we started forming our team, actually Sarah and Kendra curled together. And then I kind of came back from taking my year off. Ashley and I came back and it just kind of worked, you know, even though we were all Northern Ontario, she was still 10 hours away. It's just, you know, it's something that's kind of clicked for us and it works. So, I mean, she's from Sudbury, the bigger, you know, the larger city in Northern Ontario, or Thunder Bay, and just connected the two. And here we are.
Made it work. It work. All right. We got some more fun ones here.
Okay.
I can't tell you who this one is because I think it'll give it away, but they want to know who your favorite uncle is. How many uncles you got?
Oh my goodness, I have too many uncles.
Oh, perfect. That makes it better. So we'll see if you pick the right uncle. Let's go.
I can't do that.
Come on. Why?
Starts with
L.
I can't answer that. I have too many good ones.
Okay.
They're all awesome.
I'm sorry, Larry. I tried. Larry.
That's funny.
And then we got one from, I'm going to assume, is your neighbor.
Uh-oh.
Who asked, did your summer socially distanced pool parties at your neighbors help or hinder your efforts to repeat as Team Northern Ontario?
Oh geez, oh goodness. I hope none of my students are watching this. I'm gonna say
Socially distanced.
they definitely helped because sometimes as curlers we have to practice a different kind of off ice training.
Yeah.
So these neighbors really helped that off ice training.
I wonder if people fully get how social, even competitive curling is. Like, I obviously never got quite to your level, but I played pretty competitively. And you would go to spiels, and it's like you play a team and you want to absolutely destroy them for 2.5 hours. But then as soon as it's done, let's have a drink. Let's, like socialize. A lot of the big spiels have hospitality rooms just for the athletes where they can go and relax after a day of playing, and everyone knows each other. Everyone's, maybe not everyone's friends, there's too many people for everyone to be friends, but it's a very, very social attitude behind the curtain.
It is. You know what, I remember years ago, I just remember thinking like, yeah, you get off the ice and even though you want to crush them as bad as you can, you come off the ice and you sit together at the table and you have a drink together and you talk about family and life outside of curling. And, it's nice. I mean, now I think with the Olympics, since the Olympics have become more involved, it's maybe not quite as social, but still, I mean, everyone's around and everyone, will stay and have a drink here and there or will just come and socialize, which I think, a lot of sports don't do that. So I think we have something special with curling that we are able to socialize like we do.
What do you think about the Olympics specifically changed that? Just
I think just intensity, like the bond spiels and points, where points are so involved now that I think, you're not going to hinder yourself and have a couple drinks because you want to be tip top shape for tomorrow and things like that, or just like, sleep is so important when you're training and I think that's a big part of it. So you get off the ice at like 10 o'clock, you have a drink, it's 11:30, you wander off to your hotel room and, you can't fall asleep. It's now 1 where, maybe you should have went to bed and because you play at 9 a.m. or, those type of things, which I think lots of people do focus on that a little bit more. And, it is a little bit more serious now with like the sleep and the training and, sports psychologists, they talk about that lots. And so I think that's a big part of it. And obviously everybody wants to make it to the Olympics. That would be the best thing in the whole world, I think. But so I think that's more involved because of the Olympics being involved. Yeah. I'm
a huge nerd, and so I did a master's degree, and my thesis was on curling. And I actually the idea was Olympics have professional and the professionalization of the sport. How does it trickle down to the community level curling club? And basically, what I found out was it doesn't. But drinking and driving laws, smoking laws, all of that is what has changed the community level curling, not what's happening at the high end, but just they're not allowed to be social like you could back in the day.
Oh yeah, I know. You hear stories and of what, some of the curlers did and you're just like, I can't believe they curled still and they won, or, like you wouldn't be able to function the next day doing, the socializing that they do. But
yeah. And then you read the old books of the Briar and the train that used to go cross country and they would pick up teams and oh, it was great. They had fun.
Fun, yes. I hear those stories often.
I think it's probably changed for the better now too, though, right? Because, when I was a kid, I got to watch curling once a week, right? Or once a week, 1 week a year, or 2 weeks a year. I would see the Scotties and I would see the Briar, right? Yeah. Now you've got, 6?
Oh, I know.
They're showing, I can go on YouTube and watch something in Europe right now. Yeah. There's so much opportunity to watch the sport right now that it's hard to say that this growth has been bad. It's obviously been awesome.
Yeah, it is exciting because, whenever you want to watch curling, it's on, and, those teams that I want to play against, and lots of times we do play against in the Scotties, it's awesome. I can turn on the TV and kind of see, oh, you know what, Rachel's missing a few of her out turns. Next time, no, like those, but no, I'm like things like that. I mean, it is cool. And I remember, still to this day, like the Briar is probably my like favorite week of TV ever. I just love watching it. And like when the Scotties is finished and I'm just like, I'm so excited to like, just come home from work and watch curling, and crawl in bed and watch curling, wake up in the morning, watch curling. It's like the most exciting week of TV, I'd say.
I just leave my TV on that week. Like I
Yeah.
just leave it on TSN. So and then you're whatever you're doing, it's just on in the background.
Yeah.
And with so many like round robin games now, it's bonkers. It's just always a game on. It's amazing. I love it. You don't sometimes I'll sit and watch, you know, the full game, but more often than not, you can, because you're busy, you can
Like
do
3
something.
hours. Yeah. It's so long. It's 10 ends, and it's like it goes on forever with commercials and everything. But I know we do the same thing. You know, I'm marking or whatever it is in the background, cooking supper, and you can hear it on. And yeah, it's basically on all day from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to bed. It's on. So yeah, it's a great.
Do you find 10s now harder to play after you play so many 8s in the slams and stuff?
Oh yeah, like because we're so used to 8 ends that going to 10 ends, it's just like, okay, you got to think, okay, pretend this is the 6th end. Okay, it's actually the 8th end. You're like thinking ahead, okay, well, I'm going to try and do this. And okay, but it's not actually the 8th end. Oh yeah, sometimes you're just like, oh my goodness. And then sometimes you're like, you know, if you're down in the game, you're like, thank goodness it's 10 ends. And then if you're up in the game, you're like, oh my goodness, it's 10 ends and it's taken forever. And, you know, but yeah, I mean, 10 ends seems super long, especially just because you play 8 ends all the time, except for play down. So it is, yeah, but that's okay.
What do you prefer?
I think I prefer 8.
Yeah?
Yeah, I do, especially if you are playing a lot of games. So like say the Scotties, if you're playing a lot of games, if you're in tiebreakers, then you go to the playoffs, like it could be a lot, you know, playing 10 ends. And then if you go to next round, you know, it could be a lot. I like 8.
And now when, you know, the ice is so good, especially at these big events, the teams know each other. You're not burning an end or two like teams used to back in the day.
Exactly.
Like, all right, let's find this straight spot by just throwing hits for 2 ends. Everyone goes and just starts playing right away, so you don't almost need those ends.
I agree. Yeah, we always do that. The Scotties, we're like, okay, let's burn a couple ends and just let's get things under our feet. But you know what? In an 8 end game, you can't really do that because then you're down to a 6 end game and you get down a couple points and it could be a game over. So yeah, Yeah,
it's who knows, but hopefully you get all sorts of 8 end games in this year. We still don't know what's going to happen.
I know. We'll just keep our fingers crossed for maybe like 10 8 end games.
Yeah, anything.
Lots of scrub games.
Would you play with like one sweeper? Anything to just make it happen?
Yeah, I would. I mean, I guess I don't really know what's happening, but I mean, I mean, if everyone's doing it, then that's what I'm going to do. But I mean, I'd prefer 2 sweepers, and I'd prefer things to go back to normal, right? Like,
I don't understand. Well, I kind of do understand, but because there's the economics of it. But curling, to me, anyways, from afar now, is the perfect COVID sport. Like,
yeah, I agree.
Made for TV sport. I mean, most games are played across Canada without any fans.
Yeah.
Like at a club, the cameras can still do all their things, and I've been to the Briar. It's so much fun because the atmosphere is fun, but it's better to watch the game on TV.
Oh yeah, most people prefer
cheap, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, you could see every angle and you listen to the commentators when you're in the arena. I mean, playing with all the atmosphere, it's like awesome. You know, you make a shot and the whole crowd cheers. Like that's awesome. And I think playing in the stands, with the stands being empty, I think it would be quite different. But I mean, when you watch golf, they make a good shot, they make a super long putt, and there's like no one's clapping. Like it's just, it's probably strange for them, but I think that's how it would be for us curlers, just playing in a Scotties or a Briar, and you know, nobody's in the stands. But I mean, if it means we can curl, then I think it's probably a good thing.
Absolutely. Anything to get curling going again, Krista. Thank you so much. This has been awesome. Sponsors or anybody you want to plug? Who are your sponsors? Who supports Northern Ontario curling?
Well, this year we're kind of up in the air with sponsors because we haven't really contacted, but we do have one for sure sponsor, MNP. Also, we have McCartney Dental that sponsors us. Thunder Bay Broom and Chemical sponsors us. We have Red Zone.
Different kind of broom, though, right?
Pardon me?
Different kind of broom?
Yes, a different kind of broom, clean out the bathroom kind of broom. And yeah, Sharp Mechanical we have. I'm drawing a blank. Oh, I can't think of any more right now, but yeah, we'd like to thank all of our sponsors, of course. And this year, with it being a little bit crazy, we haven't contacted too many sponsors yet because we don't know what we'll need them for right now. But we've had some really good sponsors over the last like 5-6 years that have been amazing for our team. So
it helps a lot of teams in Canada, those sponsors.
Oh
right?
my goodness, you can't do it without them. Absolutely the best.
All right, so for real this time, thank you so much.
All right, well, thanks for having me. Thanks for all the questions to those kids that videoed in and or emailed their questions. I want to thank them as well.